It's time now for French Connections, our weekly look at the intricacies of French life. Today we have Shona Bhattacharyya with us, who's in for Florence Villeminot. Hi, Shona.
Hi, Jeannie.
So today you're going to talk about the Salon d'Agriculture.
Exactly, Jeannie. That salon closed its doors just a few days ago. It's one of the most popular fairs or shows here in France. In fact, it's actually nicknamed France's biggest farm. This year it attracted over 610,000 visitors. That's a lot of people over a 9-day period, but it's 11% less than last year. The biggest reason for that drop, analysts say, is the November attacks in Paris that added to a sense of insecurity and that triggered the national emergency that's still in place.
So what happens at this farm salon? Why is it so popular?
Well, in many ways, it's like a giant farmer's market. It's the place for city parents to take their kids to and say, look, that's a pig, or that's a duck, or that's a cow. It's kind of a giant petting zoo, and kids really love discovering the sights and smells of the farm, especially if they don't get to go to the countryside often. In fact, our word du jour is vache, which means cow, but it's actually a little bit more tricky than that. Vache can mean, it can be slang for a lot of things. So like vachement bien means really good, or oh la vache is, amen, or, holy cow, or even amour vache, which is a love-hate relationship. So
now some of these cows at the fair actually get awards.
That's right. There are all kinds of awards and prizes out there, including the general competition for animals, the Concours Général des Animaux. So each race gets a category, and the winner's cow can be sold for up to 20 times its going price for reproduction, if you were talking about a cow, for example. Other prizes go to food products like cheeses and wines. Now, there is one competition, though, that was canceled this year. That's the World Championships of Pig Cries, and when men literally get dressed up as pigs and imitate their cries. It's insane.
That's pretty impressive. All right, my favorite part about the farm salon, and I've been myself with my children, is the food.
Yeah, the food is really great. There are lots of stands selling specialty produce. You can get wine, beer, cheese, cold cuts, foie gras, milk, you name it. Visiting politicians and presidents also like the food, though for them, the Salon de l'Agriculture is more of a political stomping ground. It's the place that they go to mingle with farmers, to pat the cows on the back, and to show their support for one of France's biggest industries. So among our presidents, Jacques Chirac was by far the farmer's darling. Just look at how he worked the crowd in 2002. Jacques Chirac was an election year. The images that we saw, it was 2002. He already had the support of farmers at that moment, not only because he used to be the agriculture minister in the 1970s, but also because he's responsible for reforming the EU's common agriculture policy that we'll get to in just a minute. Nicolas Sarkozy, however, his successor, was a very different story. One of the most memorable moments of his presidency came in 2008, Sarkozy's first visit as president to the Salon, where he had this unfortunate interaction.
Ah non, pousse-moi pas. Ah non, casse-toi alors. Tu me salis. Casse-toi alors, pousse-toi. Merci.
Farmers saw Sarkozy as this city boy, this guy who couldn't distinguish one kind of a cow from another, who didn't really understand who they were, what they wanted, where they came from, things like that. So when François Hollande came to power, his presence was much more reassuring for farmers. At least like he looked like he knew what he was doing, at least at the Salon. But then look at what happened this year, just a few days ago.
No, it's true. They're yelling, "You're rotten" at him. This year's farm show was particularly upsetting, I think, for the French president. And some farmers even decided to boycott the event.
That's right. France is going through a major agriculture crisis. Farmers have been protesting for months. Let's take the dairy sector as an example here, right? So until April 1st of last year, there was a quota or a limit to how much milk each farmer could produce. If a farmer produced more, he or she would have to pay a fine. That way, prices prices on the market could be controlled. That was the thinking in any case. The EU's Common Agriculture Policy, or CAP, began in the 1960s. And from the beginning, it helped France the most because France has Europe's largest farming economy. And so the CAP, Chirac, in fact, was credited with reforming the CAP in a big way in the late 1990s. The CAP began paying subsidies directly to farmers and therefore bringing down its share of the EU budget from 73% in 1985 to 39% in 2013. Now, going back to that milk quota, that temporary quota expired a year ago, and since then, Europe has produced 2% more milk, but prices worldwide have gone down 3%. So in France, that means that the price of a ton of milk has gone down 29 euros. And the new price, farmers say, not just French farmers, all of European farmers, say that that price is lower than what it costs them to produce the milk. So what do you do? Well, French farmers are demanding lower production to push prices back up, whereas others, such as German farmers, are producing more and betting on new markets to increase their sales.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Shona. Shona Bhattacharyya there with this week's French Connections. Don't forget, if you have any questions about France that you'd like us to explore in the segment, you can feel free to tweet Shona at Shona_Journo. You can also check out our website, France24.com.